We stopped by the Umatilla drugstore to meet up with pharmacist Rich Greer, who recently published his first book, Crossing Paths, Finding Hope. Rich began writing his book 6 years ago after receiving some devastating news.
I'm Rich Greer. Most people call me Doc. I've been a pharmacist for 42 years. 6 years ago, I had a terminal diagnosis. I left the cardiologist's office, and the cardiologist had just told me that I had less than 60 days to live, and I needed to get all my affairs in order. And I will never forget that day. I felt like in the first chapter of the book, people needed to recognize that I go through problems. We all go through problems. We all have things that life throws at us that we're not ready for. And I definitely was not ready to be told that day, because for almost a year, I had been to every specialist around the country. And when the cardiologist told me that there was nothing they could do for me and he would never need to see me again, my whole world changed.
About that time, a ray of hope came through and gave Rich a new purpose in his life, whatever was left of it.
I'll never forget that day. The nurse, as I was leaving, told me, she said, "You just need to remember there's a message in this mess of yours." At the time, you don't want to hear that, you know. And so I went outside and sat next to my car, and I pretty much cried out to God to please give me something, give me hope. And the book starts off at that point, actually showing what happened to me. Because I think people need to understand that that moment in time changed my life. And what I felt from that day on was a purpose and a sense of what I needed to do. And that was to help everyone I could in any way I could.
The first chapter covers Rich's story, but the following chapters are of true stories of people Rich has met through the drugstore who have also come through hopeless situations.
All the other chapters show marvelous, wonderful, true stories of true people who came through the doors of the drugstore, and they were needing help. They were hurting, and something, the Lord probably laid it on their heart to share that hurt. We had people who came in who were battling cancer, people would take them to cancer treatments, people would hold their hands, people would pray with them. We had people who had experienced loss, and we had people surround them. Someone pay for a funeral, someone helped them transition to a smaller home. We had people who had been hurt and they needed forgiveness. They needed to know someone cared. The stories that the community did, it tells the story of how a tornado and a hurricane hit back to back right here in this community within 3 months of each other, and how the community pulled together to help people who didn't have homes, to clear their yards, to repair their roofs. It tells the story of what happened at the Pulse in Orlando, how people from the community took an old truck and went down there and pretty much set up camp and were able to provide people with clothing, shelter, food, supplies, love, prayer. You know, the book tells real life stories of real people who actually came through the drugstore and who were able to find hope.
Rich's book, published by Christian Faith Publishing, rose to the top 10 of the best-selling worldwide contemporary Christian fiction publications. Copies can be purchased at the Umatilla Drugstore, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon. Reporting for Lakefront TV, I'm Cindy Peterson.